Things were a little tighter a few years ago. The last two, it seems to have transitioned quite well, where there's a lot more people spending money now, buying boats, both power and sail.
It's full speed ahead in San Diego, the fans fueling a renaissance in the boating industry. And staying indoors, the message to people in the path of a monster storm on the East Coast, where snowfall will be measured in feet.
You get to see what really took place and see the real human beings that are involved in doing it, the atmosphere that they had to work within, the danger that was there, the sacrifices they made.
Boots on the ground, transformed into high definition. The experts saving thousands of aging reels, offering a new look at what it means to serve in the military. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. New plans for the death penalty in California evoke fierce opposition from civil rights advocates. State prison officials held a public hearing to allow for input on new lethal injection regulations. Critics say prison officials are hiding crucial information about the safety of their new lethal injection, and the ACLU has sued to access more details.
You have to talk to medical and scientific experts to ensure that the drugs that we're going to use are going to work properly, that they're going to be potent, they're going to be sterile and effective. And right now we don't know if the Department of Corrections has done that.
Legal challenges have kept the Department of Corrections from executing any more inmates since 2006. California has the nation's largest collection of convicted inmates on death row, with 756. The California Medical Association is releasing a set of guidelines for doctors to follow in preparation for this year's controversial new assisted suicide law. The guidelines include protections for doctors from criminal and civil liability, but some California doctors say they have no intention of helping their patients die.
Doctors don't jump on this bandwagon. You know, doctors' job is to heal us. So this is, it's a new place for them to be. And it took a little while in Oregon to get doctors that were on board and that really understood the intent and the power and possibilities, I guess, within the law, that it did really help patients.
The new law will go into effect 90 days after the end of the special legislative session. Got insurance? The deadline to avoid paying a penalty for not having health coverage is coming up. This year, the tax penalty jumps to $695, or 2.5% of your income. That's up from $325 and 2% from last year. The deadline to avoid the penalty is January 31st. A recent report estimated that the average household penalty will be $969 this year. That's a 47% increase over last year. A powerful blizzard bearing down on the East Coast tonight. Forecasters are calling for snowfall that will be measured in feet, plus gale force winds, coastal flooding, and whiteout conditions. NASA shared this satellite view of the storm stretching from Washington, D.C. up to New York. Associated Press reporter Robert Bumstead shows us where people are bracing for the storm.
The opening blast of a massive winter storm arrived early in Kentucky. The slippery conditions just a preview of what lies ahead this weekend, with forecasters calling for a major snowstorm. City officials along the East Coast warned residents to take shelter and stay off the roads. Washington is expected to be in the bullseye.
It has life and death implications, and all the residents of the District of Columbia should treat it that way. We need the city's full cooperation.
The blizzard is expected to dump about 2 feet of snow, with winds up to 50 miles per hour. The federal government closed early at noon as workers tried to get home ahead of the storm. Travelers also hope for the best, trying to catch the last flights out.
My teenage son is on a flight that's supposed to leave in a few minutes. We had to move him to an earlier flight today, so.
In New York's Penn Station, commuters said they were ready.
I have all my provisions ready. Yeah, just made sure that my house is stocked. We have all the toilet paper, milk, eggs, everything. So we're good to go.
At Belmar Beach in New Jersey, the city made emergency dunes in preparation for possible storm surges. Pennsylvania transportation officials said they were ready, but said fatigue could be a factor.
You know, you're stretching this thing into possibly Sunday. You're looking at, 48 to possibly in excess of 48 hours of operation time.
If all the predictions hold true, the storm is expected to be one of history's 10 worst winter storms to hit the East Coast. Robert Bumstead, Associated Press.
And the blizzard freezing the East Coast has grounded travel plans around the country and in San Diego. At least 7 departing flights and a couple of arrivals were canceled today at Lindbergh Field. Right now, more than a dozen delays at the airport. The severe weather had a ripple effect on air travel from the East Coast to the West Coast. Around the nation, at least 6,000 flights were canceled today. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler spoke with some stranded travelers.
Walking through the airport, there are suitcases stacked around tourists making phone calls, trying to find someplace to stay.
Now we're on a big vacation. We can't get back.
Milton Howard came out to San Diego with his brother and 2 sisters from Tennessee. United Airlines canceled their flight from San Diego to Washington, D.C. because of the blizzard, dubbed Snowzilla. Milton's sister Olivia says they're going to adopt a San Diego surfer attitude and go with the flow.
So now some of the things that we didn't get a chance to see here in San Diego, I guess we'll take advantage of these extra days and we'll go touring some more.
The Howard family thinks they'll get a flight on Tuesday. Milton is fine with that, but his other sister Rita has something else on her mind.
So you're secretly happy?
Yeah.
Until the bill comes.
All the Howards agree if you're going to get stuck, San Diego is a great place to be. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
And we have news from the Employment Development Department today. They say the unemployment rate in San Diego was down slightly last month compared to the month before. The figure was 4.7%. That is also below the 5.5% recorded from a year ago. Over the past year, San Diego picked up more than 37,000 jobs. A different weather picture in San Diego. We're looking at high surf advisory along the coast. Steph Davis has more on that and chance of showers in tonight's KPBS weather report.
Happy Friday, everyone. While we are dealing with some unsettled conditions across the Golden State, looking at our satellite and radar, you'll notice we do have a lot of activity here across northern and central California. Heavy rain impacting the Fresno area, north towards the San Francisco suburbs as well. But thankfully, as we head into tonight, the bulk of this action will remain to the north of our area. However, we will see this rain continue to slip south as we head into the day tomorrow. So just some clouds building in across the San Diego area, though still largely dry conditions as we head into our Friday night. So if you're heading out and about for your Friday night to kick off the weekend, you should be good to go weather-wise, though if you are traveling north across the state, definitely want to anticipate some travel delays. Clear tonight in Mount Laguna with an overnight low of 33 degrees. Clear tonight as well in Borrego Springs as temps fall back to the low 40s. 39 and dry tonight in Ramona will fall back to 54 degrees in San Diego with mainly clear skies and largely dry conditions. But as we look ahead to the day tomorrow, these showers are going to slip south into Southern California, and so we will catch some activity, especially during the afternoon and evening hours, where we will see a couple of showers in spots. The bigger story, though, going to be some high surf and rip currents. So there is a high surf advisory in effect until 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon as far north as Santa Monica, LA area, and as far south as the border, and that does include the San Diego area. So if you're planning on heading to the beaches this weekend or doing any kind of boating, definitely want to exercise caution out there. We can see some high surf, strong rip currents, and even some beach erosion. Taking a look at your extended forecast for the coast, as I mentioned, we're going to be dealing with a couple of showers and spots, mainly during the afternoon and evening hours. So if you do have plans for the second half of your Saturday, definitely want to keep an eye to the sky. Though the good news is, as we march throughout the weekend, we'll dry things out with partly sunny skies Sunday, and then a quiet forecast Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as temperatures at the coast climb to the low 70s. Same deal inland. Couple of showers towards the afternoon with a high temperature of 65 degrees, though we'll dry things out Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday look nice with sunny skies and that warming trend. For the mountains, looking at largely dry conditions as the bulk of the activity will remain away from our area Saturday, though it'll be cooler. Your daytime high 51 degrees under mostly sunny skies. That cool trend continues Sunday and Monday with highs barely breaking out of the 40s. We'll finally rebound as we look ahead to the midweek. Mostly cloudy in the deserts. Your daytime high is 70 degrees. Partial sunshine returns for your Sunday. Monday looks sunny and pleasant with highs near 70. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
150 boats are on display this weekend, from Zodiacs to $4 million yachts. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh says the market for a recreational craft seems to be more than just staying afloat.
I'm in the middle of the Sun Road Boat Show. This is the 7th year for the boat show, which they say is the largest in San Diego. And from what people tell me, business has been pretty good.
We've had a wonderful year last year. I think people are a lot of pent-up demand. I mean, the people were very conservative for many, many years, and I think people are feeling like it's time. Life's short.
Brown's company had been debuting a 54-foot, $1.84 million sailing yacht. Dealers said that the pleasure craft industry had been nearly dormant until companies finally began building again to keep up with rising demand. Last year had been Brown's best year since the recession.
Things were a little tighter a few years ago. The last two, it seems to have transitioned quite well, where there's a lot more people spending money now, buying boats, both power and sail.
Between 12,000 to 14,000 people are expected to come during the show's 4-day run, which began Thursday. The show runs through Sunday. It's at Sun Road Marina on Harbor Drive. I'm Steve Walsh with KPBS News.
A new safety campaign in North County has the city of Oceanside weighing a pilot project to change part of the Coast Highway. The proposal would narrow a stretch of the 4-lane road down to 2 lanes. It would also add an 8-foot wide bike lane. Neighbors want more safety measures after a boy was killed riding his bike to school last October. The cities of Solana Beach, Encinitas, and Carlsbad have already made changes along Coast Highway. Those include less vehicle lanes, more bike lanes, and illuminated pedestrian crossings. Starting next Friday, almost 1,600 San Diegans will fan out around the county looking for homeless San Diegans. It's part of an annual census that is conducted by the San Diego Regional Task Force. The head count of the homeless is used to find ways to help homelessness, and as well as to determine how and where federal funds should be directed. More than 300 more volunteers are needed to help with the count in the northern and central areas of the county. Last year, the volunteers found more than 8,700 homeless across the county, with almost half without a bed for that night. Would healthcare costs go down if patients could monitor their chronic diseases at home using smartphone-connected medical devices? Some doctors think so, but one recently published San Diego study found that wireless monitoring did not cut costs. KPBS science reporter David Wagner has details.
Researchers in La Jolla launched the Wired for Health study in 2013. They recruited 160 patients in San Diego dealing with diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart arrhythmia. They had some of these patients continue with standard disease management, but they gave the other patients small medical devices that synced up with a smartphone. Diabetics used a digital blood sugar meter to send daily data to their iPhones. Those with high blood pressure used a wireless monitoring cuff to keep tabs on their numbers. All that data was shared with healthcare providers through Qualcomm Life's Healthy Circles web portal. Over 6 months, the patients who wirelessly monitored themselves still went to the hospital just about as often as the patients who did not. Study author Dr. Eric Topol directs the Scripps Translational Science Institute.
Some people had actually predicted that by people having their data, that would give them terrible anxiety and they would wind up going more to the emergency room or to the doctors. We didn't see that. On the other hand, we didn't see any savings, but the key there is that it's a very short-term study.
Topol says it could take longer than 6 months before potential savings from wireless health monitoring kick in. David Wagner, KPBS News.
An Atlanta startup is working to stop scammers who are targeting mobile devices and say phone fraud is a growing problem, increasing 30% since 2013. Here's more from SciTech.
You'll find a lot of up-to-date technology at Pindrop Security, a rapidly growing startup located next to Georgia Tech in downtown Atlanta. Everything from the software that employees use to the computer screens broadcasting real-time data to the way founder and CEO Vijay Subramanian gets around the office. But in the middle of all this 21st century tech is a relic from last century, a British-style phone booth that would make Doctor Who proud. It's a reminder of Pindrop Security's mission.
What businesses are spending is close to $10 billion in fighting this phone fraud problem, largely because as fraudsters have realized that the phone channel is the weakest link.
Crimes against your smartphone don't just involve hackers sneaking malware on it or criminals stealing it. Fraudsters use mobile phones along with landlines and voice-over internet services like Skype to target businesses and consumers, pretending they're someone else so they can steal money, merchandise, and identities. Pindrop Security's technology is trying to hang up on phone fraud by allowing its business customers to know if the person on the other end of the line is not just who they say they are, but where they say they are.
I invented this technology called phone printing, which is essentially an ability for us, just from listening to the audio of a call, to be able to identify any phone device anywhere in the world.
Pindrop's clients include 7 of the largest financial institutions in the world, along with several top online brokerages, retailers, and insurance companies. The company recently released data showing incidents of phone fraud rising more than 30% since 2013. Just over half of those fraud calls are done via voice-over internet, but more of them are coming from mobile devices.
You can imagine the problem is just proliferating, right? You have so many people in the world, they use so many different kinds of devices.
Pindrop's findings highlight the challenge for security professionals as we move to a more mobile society. In the first quarter of 2015, more people shopped from their mobile devices than their desktops, according to research firm Comscore. Juniper Research predicts 1 billion mobile banking customers worldwide by 2017. That's nearly double what it was in 2013.
For a lot of people, it's their primary computer.
Stephen Fleming, vice president of Georgia Tech's Enterprise Innovation Institute, agrees that smartphones have 2 points of vulnerability, a voice channel and a data channel. Smartphones also carry some inherent security advantages over desktops, such as GPS tracking, no hard drive that can be hacked, and the way they use apps.
It varies by vendor, but a lot of what's done with mobile phone technology or mobile device technology is applications have sandboxes. So it's more difficult for one application to access the data from another one and another one. So it helps partition things more securely than your desktop.
Okay, your total is $23.78.
With Apple Pay, smartphones officially entered the biometric era. Other mobile payment systems such as Google Wallet, Square, and even industry pioneer PayPal are also in the mix. But Apple Pay uses your thumbprint and a random number generated by your iPhone to conduct transactions with merchants using near-field communications.
That is a different level of security, which is actually better than what you would have on your desktop. So I would feel much safer buying something over Apple Pay than I would feel just typing my credit card number into my browser. There's fewer ways to hack into that.
We're going to be able to wave our hand over the scanner because we're going to have a chip in our hand, and we're going to be able to have something in our eye that it'll be reading the retina, and because there is different as the thumbprints on everybody.
Longtime telecommunications industry analyst Jeff Kagan maintains that mobile operating systems like Android can still fall victim to malicious software. Also, smaller third-party companies working with larger firms on their mobile strategies may not have the same commitment to security, much less the financial resources.
I think this space is going to become much more proactive, but you're still going to always have the smaller companies that are the weak links.
We have maximum chances of success there.
In the meantime, both Subramanian and Fleming say it's incumbent upon mobile phone users to take some responsibility for securing their devices, especially if they're bringing them to work. That means enabling two-factor authentication when available. This involves not only a password, but sending an access code via text or email to your phone. Research mobile security and antivirus apps. Don't use the same passwords for all your online accounts. Consider using a password generator. And like Subramanian, know that security in a mobile world will always be a moving target.
As long as we're vigilant and aware, and we're constantly saying, we need to keep doing better because it's someone's bank account at risk, it's someone's scholarship fund at risk, I think we'll do well.
And you can see more stories like this on SciTech Now, Sundays at 5:30 right here on KPBS. Experts weigh in on how California should spend billions of dollars collected through a program designed to combat greenhouse gases. The Cap and Trade program only funds projects dealing specifically with greenhouse gases, but the Legislative Analyst's Office says it should also be used to fund other climate change projects like ones that cope with rising sea levels. California's high-speed rail and other transportation projects get a large portion of that money every year. And changes are brewing at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The organization responsible for the Oscars is making a series of reforms regarding diversity of its member composition. The reforms were unanimously approved late last night by the Board of Governors. The changes come in response to a diversity crisis after this year's Oscars acting nominees were all white. Earlier this week, a number of Hollywood actors and filmmakers voiced their opinions about the mentality that has plagued the award show. One of them was Jada Pinkett Smith. She made a public appeal on social media.
The Academy has the right to acknowledge whomever they choose, to invite whomever they choose. And now I think that it's our responsibility now to make the change. Maybe it is time that we pull back our resources and we put them back into our communities, into our programs, and we make programs for ourselves that acknowledge us in ways that we see fit, that are just as good.
And among the changes the Academy will be making includes limiting members' voting status to 10 years, doubling the number of female and minority members by 2020, as well as launching a global campaign to identify and recruit diverse talent.
San Onofre is a mess that some officials are treating as if it were radioactive. In tonight's special program, we look at how the Public Utilities Commission, the governor, and the Attorney General left ratepayers holding the bag. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
Mexico is calling for a speedy extradition of El Chapo. President Enrique Peña Nieto is ordering officials to accelerate the extradition of recaptured drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman to the U.S. Guzman escaped from Mexican maximum security prison twice. Officials say the extradition process could still take a year or more of legal wrangling. A rare stockpile of films revealing a unique view of war and the Marines who served, from the beaches of Iwo Jima to the sieges in Vietnam, before they go on display to the public. Associated Press reporter Alex Sands introduces us to the film experts restoring thousands of hours of video.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, these images, some never before seen, are invaluable. Silent color films showing U.S. Marines during World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, many of them hidden for generations.
These types of things give us new insights into the past. We'll have manuals on the military side of things. We'll have standard operating procedures that tell us how a higher headquarters thought things should be done. But with the moving image, we can see how they really did it.
From the 1930s to the 1970s, Marine photographers recorded thousands of 16 and 35 millimeter films, documenting history, intense combat scenes in Iwo Jima, the testing of rocket-propelled boats in Virginia, Marines during the siege of Khe Sanh. In December, the first reels left the Marine Corps base in Quantico, Virginia, for the University of South Carolina.
Pretty much you name it, they filmed it, and that film all kind of aggregated at Quantico over the years, and the bulk of that collection still sits there.
Saving this kind of history is expensive. The Marine Corps can't do it alone, so it's partnering with a university. Inside this building, the school's moving image research collection is preserving, cataloging, and digitizing thousands of aging reels. Roughly 2,000 hours of video.
I think we often look at military history as a history of armed conflict. I think the Marine Corps Film Repository is actually going to grow that history a lot as far as the general public's understanding of what it means to have served in the military in the United States.
Something Jim Vineyard knows firsthand. He served in Vietnam. The former Marine captain says the footage brought him back in time.
When you get to see what really took place and see the real human beings that are involved in doing it, the atmosphere that they had to work within, the danger that was there, the sacrifices they made, I think it's extremely important.
Scenes of history transformed into high definition, revealing a depth of color and details never before seen. Available to the public in the coming years. Alex Sands, The Associated Press, Columbia, South Carolina.
I'm Hari Srinivasan. On the next news hour, a clash over how to handle a rise in feral cats in communities across America. That's Friday on the PBS NewsHour.
The Lucky Lotto Quartet, a ticket purchased in Chula Vista that fell one digit short of last week's record-setting $1.5 billion Powerball jackpot, belonged to 4 South Bay mechanics. They won more than $500,000. The group says they will use the money for travel, to pay bills, and buy new tires. A dozen tickets across California matched 5 numbers, but this group was just the third to step forward. And you can find tonight's stories on our website. That's kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great evening.